By the time my mother put the turkey on the table, I already knew Thanksgiving was going to end badly. I just didn't know it would end with my father standing in the dining room with a face the color of ash, my mother whispering, "Please, Natalie, not here," and my perfect older sister finally saying the one sentence I had waited 10 years to hear. The house smelled like butter, roasted garlic, and rosemary. Steam rose from bowls of mashed potatoes, green beans, honey-glazed carrots, and the cranberry sauce my mother insisted on making from scratch even though nobody liked it. The dining room looked exactly like the magazine version of Family. Candles. Linen napkins. Crystal glasses. My mother's best china. The long mahogany table my parents always said had been in our family for generations, although I knew for a fact it had been bought at an estate sale in 2009 with a credit card they never paid off. My older sister, Meredith, sat across from me like she had been placed there by a decorator. Cream cashmere sweater. Diamond studs. Hair blown out into perfect waves. Her husband, Grant, sat beside her in a navy blazer, swirling red wine like he was auditioning to be the villain in a luxury car commercial. Their son, Caleb, was 8 and already learning that adults could smile while being cruel. He poked at his carrots and watched everything without saying a word. My father, Robert, sat at the head of the table. He used to fill a room with his voice. Now he looked smaller somehow, shoulders rounded, face tired, fingers tapping against his wineglass. My mother, Elaine, sat beside him with that bright, strained smile she always wore around Meredith. The smile of a woman who had chosen a favorite child so long ago that admitting it now would collapse her entire life. And then there was me. Natalie Ayes. 33 years old. Some marketing job, according to my family. Rented apartment. 10-year-old Honda. No husband. No children. No house. No country club membership. No matching Christmas pajamas on Instagram. The daughter who never quite became anyone. At last, that was the family story. As I was saying, Meredith announced, lifting her glass slightly, "The guest bathroom is finally finished." My mother practically glowed. "It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Imported Italian tile," Meredith said. "Custom vanity. Heated floors." The contractor said most people don't go that high-end for a guest bath, but I told him, why do anything halfway? Grant chuckled. "That's my wife." Aunt Caroline, my mother's older sister, leaned forward with a polite smile. "Must be nice, having Grant's salary." Grant gave a tiny shrug. "Senior partner before 40 doente hot." 37, Meredith corrected proudly. 36, Grant said. They both smiled. He looked down at my plate and cut a piece of turkey. It was dry. My mother's turkey was always dry, but everyone praised it like it had been prepared by a chef flown in from Paris. "That bathroom changed the whole upstairs," my mother said. "It really lifted the house." He almost laughed. Lifted the house. The house that would have been lost 18 months earlier if I hadn't wired the mortgage payment at 2:14 de la mañana from a hotel room in Phoenix while my boss snored through a conference in the room next door. The house whose new roof I paid for. The house whose property taxes I quietly covered. The house whose beautiful guest bathroom had been paid for through a home equity line my parents could only keep current because I sent money every month. But no one at the table knew that. Or maybe they knew enough to stay quiet. Meredith turned toward me suddenly, her smile changing shape. "So, Natalie," she said. "Hope's work." There it was. The soft opening. My stomach tightened, but my face stayed calm. "Busy," I said. "Still at Beacon Street Media?" "Yes." "Same position?" "Not exactly." Grant smirked into his wine. Marketing is one of those industries where titles are very flexible. He placed my fork down gently. So is law, apparently. His eyes flicked up. Meredith's smile froze for half a second. My mother cleared her throat. "Let's not start." "I wasn't starting anything," I said. "No one said you were," Meredith replied, sweet as poison. Aunt Caroline looked between us. "Girls." We were not girls. Meredith was 38. He was 33. Back in that house, time stopped wherever my mother needed it to stop. Meredith leaned back, still smiling. Mom and Dad have been talking. My father's fingers stopped tapping. My mother looked down at her napkin. He knew then. It was not a casual insult. It was planned. Meredith had rehearsed this. Talking about what? He asked. Meredith tilted her head. About you. The room changed. It was subtle. A quiet shift in air pressure. Caleb stopped moving his fork. Grant's smirk widened. My mother folded her hands on the table like a woman preparing for church. Juror 33, Natalie, Meredith said. And I don't think anyone has ever really said this to your face because we've all been trying to protect your feelings. He felt my heartbeat once. Hard. Say what? He asked. That you are wasting your life. No one corrected her. No one said my name kindly. No one laughed it off. Meredith continued, gaining confidence from the silence. You rent. You drive that awful car. You've been at the same company forever. You don't date anyone serious. You don't own anything. You don't have a family of your own. You drift through holidays, show up when it suits you, disappear when anyone needs you, and then act like being quiet makes you morally superior. He stared at her. The candles flickered. My father lifted his wineglass and put it down without drinking. I pay my bills, I said. I work. You don't ask anyone here for money. Grant laughed softly. That laugh did something to me. Not because it hurt. Because it reminded me how long I had let people underestimate me. Meredith's eyes sharpened. Money isn't the only way people fail their families. No, I said. It isn't. My mother looked at me then. Really looked. There was warning in her face. Don't not. Not here. Not in front of Meredith. Not in front of Grant. Not in front of your aunt. Not in front of the table I polished and the turkey I ruined and the lie we all agreed to live inside. Meredith reached across and touched my mother's hand. That was the performance. The devoted daughter comforting the fragile mother. Someone has to say it, Meredith said. You have always been selfish. My mother whispered, coldly selfish. The words landed softly, but they were the last weight the scale could hold. Something inside me went still. Not numb. Not broken. Clear. He picked up my water glass and took one slow sip. Then I smiled. For the first time all evening, I smiled because I meant it. Perfect, I said. Meredith frowned. Excuse-me. Perfect timing. He picked up my phone. My father's face changed first. I knew. Maybe not everything. But enough. Natalie, he said quietly. He opened my banking app. My thumb moved without shaking. Schedule transfers. IS Family Mortgage Support, $6,850 monthly. Utilities, $740 monthly. Medical account, $1,200 monthly. Emergency credit line payment, $2,300 monthly. There they were. The invisible bones holding up the perfect body of my family. My mother inhaled sharply. Meredith leaned forward. What are you doing? He tapped the first transfer. Cancel recurring payment? Yes. The second. Yes. The third. Yes. The fourth. Yes. Then I placed my phone face up beside my plate. Since I bring nothing to this family, I said, looking at my mother, nothing stops today. The dining room went completely silent. Not quiet. Silent. The kind of silence that feels alive. My father stood halfway, his napkin falling to the floor. My mother's lips parted. No sound came out. Grant's smirk burnished. Meredith blinked like she had just missed a step on a staircase. Aunt Caroline slowly lowered her wineglass. Caleb looked from his grandmother to me and whispered, Aunt Nat paid for the house. No one answered him. That was answer enough. My mother finally found her voice. Not here, she whispered. He laughed once. Not loudly. Not kindly. Not here. He said. This was the perfect place to tell me I'm useless. My father's hand gripped the back of his chair. Enough. He looked at him. Exactly. Meredith pushed back her chair so hard it scraped against the hardwood. Her face had gone pale beneath the makeup. And then, after years of polished cruelty, she finally said the one sentence I had been waiting to hear. Mom, she whispered, what did Natalie just cancel? Nobody moved. For 10 years, my family had treated silence like a contract. He would stay quiet. They would stay comfortable. Meredith would be the successful daughter. He would be the disappointing one. My parents would keep their dignity. Everyone would pretend the money that saved them appeared out of thin air. But contracts can be broken. Especially when only one person has been paying the cost. My mother's hand trembled as she reached for her water glass. Natalie, this is cruel. He turned toward her. No, Mom. Cruel was letting Meredith humiliate me at your table while you knew I was paying for the table. Meredith's mouth opened. Grant stared at me like he was recalculating a case he had assumed was already won. Dad lowered himself back into his chair slowly. Aunt Caroline said, Elaine? My mother closed her eyes. That was when I knew my aunt had not known. Good. Let at least one person in the room be genuinely shocked. Meredith pointed at my phone. What payments? He leaned back. You should ask Mom and Dad. No, she snapped. I'm asking you. Mortgage. Utilities. That's cardiology bills. The second mortgage payment they took out after your Nantucket wedding. A credit line payment. And recently, part of the renovation loan for your beautiful imported tile. The words hung there. Imported tile. Custom vanity. Heated floors. Meredith looked at my mother. Is that true? Mom's eyes filled instantly, which was her gift. Theirs appeared whenever accountability did. We never wanted to burden anyone, she said. He laughed again. That's not true. You were very comfortable burdening me. Dad rubbed his forehead. Natalie, please. He looked at him. His face was red now, but not with anger. Shame. Or maybe fear. You knew this day would come, I said. I knew you were upset, he answered. Upset. He repeated. Dad, I have been sending you money every month for 6 years. 6 years. And tonight you sat there while Meredith told me I don't contribute to this family. Meredith snapped, you never told me. He turned to her. Why would I? You never asked how the house stayed afloat after Dad retired early and Mom's boutique failed. My boutique did not fail, Mom said automatically. Mom, I said gently, you sold 14 candles in 8 months and wrote off a room in the house as a business expense. Grant's eyes flickered. He knew what that meant. He was a lawyer. Maybe not a decent one, but a lawyer. Meredith looked from him to me. What is she talking about? Nothing, Grant said too quickly. Ismail. Careful, Grant. You're better at lying when you have billable hours attached. His jaw tightened. Aunt Caroline placed her napkin beside her plate. Robert. Elaine. Is Natalie telling the truth? My father looked older than he had 5 minutes earlier. Yes, he said finally. My mother let out a tiny sob. Robert. No, he said, voice cracking. No, Elaine. Sis right. Meredith stared at him as if he had betrayed her. Dad looked at me, then at the table. Natalie has been helping us. Helping? He said. Flinched. He picked up my phone and opened a folder. Receipts. Not because I had planned to use them that night. Because I had learned years ago that love without records becomes a weapon in the wrong family. Bank transfers. Mortgage confirmations. Medical invoices. Property tax bills. Contractor payments. Checks. Emails. He turned the screen toward Meredith. Do you want numbers? She did not answer. So I gave them anyway. Over 6 years, I sent Mom and Dad $483,000. Aunt Caroline gasped. Meredith's face changed completely. Grant went very still. Caleb whispered, that's a lot. Yes, I said, because he deserved one honest answer from an adult in that room. It is. My mother's tears spilled over. You make it sound so ugly. It was ugly, I said. You just decorated it. Meredith stood up. This is insane. If you had that kind of money, why do you rent? Because I wanted liquid assets. She blinked. What? Because rent made sense while I invested. Because I didn't need a marble kitchen to prove I was alive. Because unlike you and Grant, I don't buy things to convince other people I'm not terrified. Grant slammed his glass down. Red wine splashed onto the white tablecloth. Natalie, he said, voice low, they choose your next words carefully. There he was. The man beneath the blazer. He turned to him slowly. No, Grant, I said. You should. The room seemed to shrink. He smiled without warmth. You're emotional. Understandable. But making accusations in front of family can have consequences. Accusations? He asked. You implied financial misconduct. I did. His nostrils flared. Meredith grabbed his arm. Grant. He looked at him. Would you like me to stop at Mom's fake boutique deductions, or should we discuss the retainer your firm received from Hollis and Reed last spring? His face strained. That was the second silence. The first silence had been surprise. This one was fear. Meredith looked at her husband. What is Hollis and Reed? Grant did not look at her. Edith. It's a private equity group, I said. They were trying to acquire a company called Northline Data Systems. Aunt Caroline frowned. Why does that matter? Because I own 21% of Northline. My mother whispered, you what? Meredith sat down slowly. He could see the math failing behind her eyes. Sammy Hope. All car nothing owned. Except stock. Except contracts. Except money. Except leverage. Grant's voice came out flat. You can't discuss confidential business at a dinner table. He raised an eyebrow. Interesting concern from the man whose firm sent acquisition strategy notes to a personal Gmail account. His hand froze. Meredith looked physically sick. Dad stared at me like he had never seen me before. Maybe he hadn't they. Maybe none of them had. He stood up and placed my napkin neatly beside my plate. I'm not suing anyone tonight, I said. I'm not screaming. I'm not throwing wine. I'm not even asking for an apology, because forced apologies are just theater. My mother sobbed harder. He picked up my coat from the back of the chair. But the payments are over. The pretending is over. And if anyone at this table says one more word about what I bring to this family, I'll bring documentation. Meredith's voice broke. You can't just stop paying. He looked at her. There it is, I said softly. Her mouth closed. You didn't they say I was lying? You didn't they ask if I was okay? You didn't they say thank you? You said I can't stop. Caleb looked down at his plate. That hurt more than I expected. Not because he was judging me. Because he was learning. He turned to him. Caleb, none of this is your fault. His eyes lifted, wide and confused. Meredith snapped, don't talk to my son. Then raise him better than you were raised, I said. My mother made a wounded sound, but I was already walking toward the front door. Bang me, chair scraped. Voices rosy. My father said my name. Meredith demanded answers. Grant said something about legal exposure. Aunt Caroline said, my God, Elaine, what have you done? He opened the door. Cold November air hit my face. For the first time all night, I could breathe. Then my phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Note, I'm sorry. Note, thank you. Note, please come back. Eat it. You humiliated your sister. Fix this before Monday. I stared at the message beneath the porch light. Then another text came in. From an unknown number. MS, this is Daniel Mercer from Norflines Board. Sorry to bother you on Thanksgiving. We have a problem with Grant Collins. It's urgent. He looked back at the glowing windows of my parents' perfect house. And smiled. Thanksgiving had only been the appetizer. By Friday morning, Meredith had called me 17 times. My mother had called 9. My father twice. Grant 11. He did not answer any of them. There is a special peace in watching a family discover that the person they used as a safety net has finally cut the rope. He made coffee in my small kitchen, wearing sweatpants and an old college hoodie. My apartment was not impressive. 1 bedroom. Brick wall. No heated floors. No imported tile. A tiny balcony that overlooked a grocery store parking lot. But everything in it was mine. But 4. Chosen. Quiet. My phone lit up again. Meredith. This time, she left a voicemail. He pressed play. Natalie, this has gone far enough. Mom is hysterical. Dad barely slept. Caleb heard everything, and now is asking questions he shouldn't they have to ask because you decided to make a scene. I don't know what kind of revenge fantasy you're living in, but families don't keep score. Calme. He laughed so hard I nearly spilled my coffee. Familias don't keep score. That was rich coming from a woman who remembered I left her birthday dinner after 40 minutes in 2017 because I had food poisoning. He saved the voicemail. Then I opened my laptop and joined the emergency Northline board call. Daniel Mercer appeared on screen first. It was 50-something, silver-haired, calm in the way only wealthy men and surgeons seemed calm. Natalie, he said. Thank you for joining on short notice. Tell me. Didn't they waste time? Grant Collins' firm represented Hollis and Reed during the attempted acquisition. We discovered last night that someone inside the firm may have shared confidential acquisition strategy with an outside party. That outside party used the information to short 2 vendors connected to Northline. He took a slow sip of coffee. How much exposure? Potentially 8 figures. And Grant? Daniel's mouth tightened. His login accessed the files. Of course it did. Grant had always treated rules like obstacles for poorer people. Do we have proof he shared them? He asked. Not yet. But there is more. There was always more. His wife made several large purchases shortly after those trades cleared. Meredith. Custom vanity. Importitile. Designer handbag I had seen hanging from her chair the night before. Daniel continued, we're bringing in outside counsel Monday. He wanted to warn you because your name may come up. My name? You were listed in an internal note as an obstacle to the acquisition. He smiled slowly. Was I? Yes. It says, and I quote, minor shareholder his may be pressured through family channels if needed. There it was. The sentence that turned my annoyance into strategy. Grant had not just underestimated me. He had discussed using my family to pressure me. Send me everything, I said. Daniel hesitated. Natalie, I need to ask. Is Grant Collins connected to your family? Is my brother-in-law? Daniel closed his eyes briefly. I was afraid of that. Don't be. It makes this cleaner. Cleaner? Yes, I said. Because now I know exactly why Thanksgiving happened. After the call, I sat in silence for a few minutes. The insult had not been random. Meredith had not simply decided to attack me because she was bored. Grant needed leverage. Norflines' acquisition had stalled because minority shareholders like me refused to approve the terms. If he could make me look unstable, selfish, irresponsible, maybe he thought I would cave under family pressure. Or maybe he thought I would do what I had always done. Pay. Absorb. Stay quiet. My phone buzzed again. Distime, it was my father. He almost ignored it. Then I answered. Natalie, he said, voice rough. Thank God. What do you need, Dad? A post. That pause told me everything. Not how are you? Not I'm sorry. What he needed. Your mother is very upset. I'm sure. She did they mean. Yes, she did. Said. Your sister is scared. She should be. Natalie. He stood and walked to the window. Below, a man loaded groceries into a dented minivan. A woman laughed into her phone. Ordinary lives. Annie's problems. That's it, we need to talk about the house. No, you need to talk about the house. Please don't do that. Do what? Sound like a stranger. He closed my eyes. That almost worked. My father had always been better than my mother at finding the soft spot. I did not attack first. I sounded wounded. Confused. Like my boundaries were acts of violence. I became a stranger, I said, the year you let Mom tell people Meredith helped with your hospital bills. Silence. He remembered that day clearly. Dad had been recovering from his heart procedure. He had paid the balance after insurance. $42,000. My mother had cried on the phone and promised she would pay me back someday. Then at a family barbecue, Aunt Caroline praised Meredith for stepping up. Meredith smiled and said, family does what family has to. He stood by the grill holding a paper plate and said nothing. That was the day I understood my role. Not daughter. Not sister. Infrastructure. That cleared his throat. Your mother was embarrassed. No, I said. She was proud. Just not of me. I had no answer. Good. He was tired of giving him one. I said, the mortgage is due Monday. I know. We don't have it. I know. Another silence. Then, softer, are you really going to let us lose the house? He looked around my apartment. The cracked windowsill. The thrift store table. The plant I had almost killed twice but kept alive through stubbornness. No, I said. You did that when you borrowed against it for Meredith's wedding, then borrowed again for renovations, then lied to me about what the money was for. Dad's breath shook. I didn't know about the second loan until after, he whispered. But you knew before Thanksgiving. Yes. And you still let her call me useless. I said nothing. My voice stayed calm. Then you made your choice. He hung up. 5 minutes later, Meredith sent a text. We're coming over. He replied. No. She sent. You don't get to destroy this family and hide. He typed back. He didn't destroy it. He stopped funding the performance. Then I blocked her for the day. At noon, I drove to my office. Beacon Street Media was not glamorous from the outside. Third floor of a renovated warehouse. Exposed bikes. Bad parking. Great coffee. My family thought I was a mid-level marketing employee because that was what I let them believe. The truth was slightly different. He had started as a coordinator 11 years ago, then strategist. Then director. Then equity partner when the founder needed someone to save the company during a cash crisis. 3 years later, Beacon had a data division. That division became Northline. And Northline became the company Grant's clients wanted badly enough to cheat for. At 2:37 de la tarde, our receptionist called my office. Natalie? There is a woman here asking for you. Says your sister. Of course. He walked to the lobby. Meredith stood there in camel-colored wool, sunglasses pushed onto her head, rage tucked neatly behind lipstick. Grant was beside her, hands in his coat pockets. Beneath them stood my mother. Crying. My employees pretended not to watch. Meredith smiled when she saw me. Not a real smile. A camera smile. Natalie, she said loudly, we just want to talk. He folded my arms. You came to my workplace. You boldn't answer. So you thought trespassing would help. Grant stepped forward. Let's not escalate. E looked at him. You brought my mother to my office after discussing pressure through family channels in a corporate acquisition file. That is escalation. For one glorious second, his face betrayed him. Meredith noticed. What is she talking about? She demanded. Grant's mouth tightened. Nothing. He smiled at my sister. And for the first time in my life, Meredith looked scared of being the last person in the room to know the truth. My mother cried for exactly 3 minutes before realizing no one in my office lobby was comforting her. That was new for her. Usually, tears rearranged the room. My father softened. Meredith performed concern. He apologized even when I had done nothing wrong. Someone found tissues. Someone lowered their voice. Someone made sure Elaine Hayes did not have to sit inside the consequences of her own choices. Back my receptionist, Maribel, simply offered a tissue box and returned to her desk. Professional. Un moved. My mother dabbed her eyes and looked around as if the exposed brick had insulted her. Natalie, she whispered. Please. Can we speak somewhere private? We can speak in the conference room, I said. Grant stays in the lobby. Grant laughed once. That's not happening. He turned to him. Then none of you get past the lobby. His eyes hardened. Meredith looked between us. Why are you acting like some criminal? He held her gaze. Ask him. Grant's voice dropped. Natalie, you're making a mistake. No, I said. I made mistakes for years. This is correction. Meredith grabbed my arm. Not hard enough to hurt. Hard enough to remind me she still believed she had the right. He looked down at her fingers. Remove your hand. She did. My mother inhaled sharply, offended on Meredith's behalf. He led them into the glass conference room near the lobby. Not my private office. Not anywhere with files, screens, or personal details. Grant followed anyway. He stopped at the doorway. Lobby, I said. I'm her husband, he replied. And potentially a subject of an internal investigation involving my company. Lobby. Meredith turned to him slowly. Investigation. He smiled tightly. Corporate nonsense. He almost admired the confidence. Almost. A man like Grant did not panic immediately. He negotiated with reality first. He believed every room had a weak person, and if he could find them fast enough, the room became his. Unfortunately for Grant, he had spent years assuming I was the weak person. He stayed in the lobby, but not before giving me a look that promised consequences. The conference room door closed. My mother sat first, as if weakness had assigned seating. Meredith remained standing. What investigation? She demanded. He sat across from them. You should ask your husband. I'm asking you. You keep doing that after insulting me. It's interesting. Her face flushed. Fine. I'm sorry. My mother nodded quickly. There. She apologized. He leaned back. For what? Meredith's jaw clenched. For what I said at dinner. What did you say? She looked at Mom. Mom looked at the table. He waited. This was not pettiness. This was precision. Abusers love vague apologies because vague apologies cost nothing. Meredith finally said, I said you were wasting your life. And that you were selfish. And here I shown now, but not with remorse. We said that you weren't the daughter Mom and Dad deserved. My mother whispered, Natalie, don't punish her. He looked at my mother. You said I was coldly selfish. She pressed her lips together. Say it, I said. Her face hardened. There she was. Beneath the tears, still. I was hurt. No, I said. You were comfortable. Meredith slammed her palm on the table. We don't have time for your therapy language. Are you going to pay the mortgage or not? Ismail. She had walked straight to the center of it. No. The word landed cleanly. My mother's breathing changed. Mercedes stirred. You can't do that. I already did. Mom and Dad could lose the house. Yes. Caleb loves that house. Caleb also loves honesty. Try giving him some. Her face twisted. Don't use my son. You brought him into a house funded by a woman you taught him to look down on. My mother said, that is not fair. No, ma'am. Fair would have been telling Meredith the truth 6 years ago. Fair would have been saying, Natalie paid your father's hospital bill. Fair would have been saying, Natalie covered the mortgage when we were 3 months behind. Fair would have been saying, Natalie is the reason we still host Thanksgiving. Mercedes sat down. For the first time, she looked less polished. Smaller. How much? She asked. You heard me last night. Say it again. $483,000. She swallowed. My mother whispered, some of that was gifts. He looked at her. No. Birthday flowers are gifts. Christmas sweaters are gifts. $500,000 transferred after emergency calls are not gifts. They are rescues. Mercedes looked at Mom. Why didn't you tell me? My mother's answer came too fast. Because you had your own life. He smiled sadly. And I didn't. The silence that followed was different. Not fair. Recognition. Brief, unwilling recognition. Then Meredith rejected it. You should have said no, she snapped. He nodded. You're right. That surprised her. He continued, I should have said no the first time Mom called crying because the mortgage was behind. He should have said no when Dad needed money for the cardiologist. He should have said no when your wedding planner threatened to cancel the venue because the final payment bounced. Mercedes went still. You paid for my wedding. Part of it. She looked at Mom again. You said Grandma's bonds covered that. Mom's face crumpled. Grandma's bonds were gone by then, I said. Mercedes sank back in her chair. For one moment, I saw something human in her face. No kindness exactly. But shock deep enough to crack the performance. Then Grant opened the conference room door without knocking. We're done here, he said. He looked at him. You're not in this meeting. I am now. His phone was in his hand. His expression had changed. Something had happened. Mercedes stood. Grant, what is going on? I ignored her and looked at me. You need to check your email. I'm busy. Check it. My mother looked terrified. He opened my phone. There was an email from an attorney I recognized. Outside counsel for Northline. Subject line. Litigation hold notice, Collins matter. Mercedes read it over my shoulder and whispered, Collins. Grant's face was gray. He looked up. Congratulations, I said. You made it official before dessert leftovers were gone. Mercedes turned to her husband. Grant. Is mapped, not here. He left. My mother flinched. Grant glared at me. He said, funny. That seems to be the family motto. Meredith's voice shook. What did you do? Grant pointed at me. Sis trying to ruin me because she had a bad Thanksgiving. No, I said. You involved my name in an acquisition pressure strategy. You accessed confidential files. You may have leaked information. And your wife's spending may now be part of a financial timeline. Mercedes stepped back as if he had become contagious. My spending. Grant turned on her. Don't. That one word told her more than any explanation could. Meredith's eyes filled. You told me the bonus cleared. He closed his eyes. My mother covered her mouth. He stood. This meeting is over. Grant moved closer. You think you're untouchable? No, I said. I think I'm documented. For a moment, I thought he might shout. Instead, he smiled. That was worse. You should remember, he said quietly, your parents signed more than you know. My mother made a tiny sound. He looked at her. What did you sign? She would not meet my eyes. Grant put his hand on the door. You want to play receipts, Natalie, he said. Let's play. Then he walked out. Meredith followed him, demanding answers. My mother stayed seated. Wait te facet. Silent. And I understood, with a coldness spreading through me, that my parents had not only taken my money. They had used my name. My mother confessed in my office at 3:18 de la tarde on Black Friday. Not because guilt overwhelmed her. Because fear did. There was paperwork, she whispered. He stood by the conference room window, watching Meredith and Grant argue near the elevators. What paperwork? Mom twisted the tissue in her hands until it shredded. Your father handled most of it. That was how she always began. Your father handled it. Meredith needed it. Grant said it was normal. The bank made us. The hospital pushed us. The contractor required it. Every confession in my family came wrapped in someone else's fingerprints. He sat down slowly. What has my name on it? She started crying again. Dime, I did not soften. What has my name on it, Ma'am? A line of credit. My pulse became a sound in my ears. How much? She closed her eyes. How much? 175,000. The room tilted, but only for a second. Then everything snapped into place. The strange credit alert I had received 2 years earlier and dismissed because the account showed no balance. The paperwork Dad had asked me to sign for estate planning after his heart scare. The late-night call from Mom saying the notary was coming and they needed my signature just in case. Just in case. 3 words that had cost me more than money. Did you forge my signature? Her eyes flew open. No. No, Natalie, we would never. Then what did I sign? It was a family trust update. No. What did I sign? She sobbed. I guarantee. He stood so fast the chair hit the glass wall behind me. My employees looked up from the lobby. He lowered my voice. You had me guarantee debt for this house. We were desperate. You lied to me. We thought we could fix it before you ever knew. He stared at her. That sentence should be carved over the entrance of every ruined family. We thought we could fix it before you knew. How much is outstanding? He asked. I don't know. Wrong answer. I really don't. Then call Dad. She shook her head. Is not well. Then he should enjoy the comfort of truth before his blood pressure gets creative. Mom looked wounded. He picked up my phone and called my father on speaker. A answered immediately. Natalie? What is the balance on the credit line in my name? Silence. My mother whispered, Robert. I said, don't look at her. Answer me. Dad breathed heavily. About 92,000. Yes. What was it used for? No answer. He looked at my mother. Say it. She shook her head. Dad whispered, Meredith and Grant needed temporary help. He almost smiled. Not because it was funny. Because the cruelty had finally become absurd. Temporary help for what? Dad said nothing. He knew then that he would protect her until the truth dragged itself out of him. So I called Meredith. She declined. He called again. Decline. He texted. Did Mom and Dad take a credit line in my name to give you money? 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. 10. This is between you and them. There it was. A confession wearing makeup. He sent one more text. How much? No reply. Grant texted instead. You need counsel before making further defamatory statements. He sent back. Already have counsel. Also screenshots. Then I called Daniel Mercer. Tell me you're not busy, I said. For this? Never. I need a forensic accountant and an attorney who specializes in family financial fraud. It boasts. That bad. My parents used my signature to guarantee a credit line. Some of the money may have gone to Grant and Meredith. Daniel exhaled. Ella sent names within 10 minutes. I sent them in 6. By Friday evening, I was in a law office downtown with a woman named Rebecca Sloan, who had the calm, lethal energy of someone who had destroyed many liars before lunch. She reviewed the documents I could access, including the account number Mom reluctantly gave me after I threatened to freeze everything. Rebecca looked up after 20 minutes. This is ugly. I assumed. No, she said. I mean professionally ugly. Your signature appears on the guarantee, but the notary stamp is from a date you were in Seattle. He stared at her. I can prove that, I said. Hotel receipts. Flight records. Conference badge. Good. She tapped the papers. There may be forgery. There may be bank negligence. There may be identity misuse. And if funds were transferred to your sister or brother-in-law, we have potential civil claims. He leaned back. Outside the window, the city lights blurred in the rain. Rebecca studied me. Do you want to pursue criminal options? The question sat between us. My first instinct surprised me. No. Not because they deserve it. Because some ancient part of me still wanted a family after the truth. Then I remembered my mother's text. Fix this before Monday. Not sorry. Not thank you. Fix this. Yes, I said. I want every option on the table. Rebecca nodded once. Then we moved fast. By Saturday morning, my parents' mortgage company had received notice that all future payments from me were permanently revoked. The bank holding the credit line received a fraud inquiry. Norflines Council received my full cooperation. And Meredith began unraveling. She posted on Facebook at 9:03 de la mañana. Some people weaponize money and call it love. Praying for healing in our family. By 9:15, 3 cousins had liked it. By 9:22, Aunt Caroline commented. Meredith, did Natalie pay for your wedding? The post disappeared at 9:24. He laughed for the first time all weekend. At 10:10, Caleb called me from Meredith's phone. He answered immediately. Aunt Nat? Hey, buddy. His voice was small. Mom's crying. I'm sorry. Did you do something bad? He closed my eyes. This was the part that made people like Meredith dangerous. They built shields out of children. No, I said carefully. The adults are dealing with adult problems. None of this is your fault. Did you pay for my school? My throat tightened. He had not known he knew. For a little while, I said. Mom said Dad did. I know. It was quiet. Then he whispered, thank you. 2 words. From an 8-year-old. More than I had received from my parents in 6 years. Meredith grabbed the phone. How dare you, she hissed. He called me. You are confusing him. No, I said. Is confused because the truth keeps contradicting what you told him. Her voice shook with rage. You think you're better than me now? No, Meredith. You think I'm done being worse so you can feel better. She inhaled sharply. You have no idea what eBay had to carry. That stopped me. Not because I believed her. Because it was the first honest-sounding thing she had said. What did Grant do? He asked. Silence. Then, very softly, she said, I can't talk. The line went dead. He stared at the phone. For all her cruelty, Meredith was scared. Not embarrassed. Not inconvenienced. Scared. And suddenly, the story widened. This was not just about a mortgage. Not just about Thanksgiving. Not even just about Grant's corporate misconduct. Something else was hiding under my sister's perfect life. And by Sunday night, it showed up at my door in a manila envelope with no return address. Inside was a flash drive. And a note. Ask your sister about the house in Lake Marin. He had never heard of Lake Marin. That was the first problem. The second problem was that the flash drive contained 6 folders, each labeled with a year. The third problem was that my sister appeared in almost every folder. Not in photos. In documents. Wire transfers. Property records. LLC filings. Renovation invoices. Insurance statements. Short-term rental income summaries. Lake Marin was not just a house. It was a luxury vacation property 2 hours north, hidden behind a limited liability company called Blue Harbor Living. The registered agent was a law office. The mailing address was a P.O. Box. The ownership trail was messy, but not messy enough. Grant Collins was connected. Meredith was connected. And at least $80,000 from the credit line guaranteed in my name had passed through an account that eventually paid for renovations on that property. He sat at my kitchen table until 2 de la mañana, reading every page. Then I called Rebecca Sloan at 7:01 de la mañana. She answered like she had been awake for hours. Tell me. He told her. She was silent for a long moment. Then she said, do not contact your family about this yet. Why? Because if they know you have it, documents disappear. He looked at the flash drive. Someone wanted me to have it. Likely. Grant? No, she said. If Grant wanted you scared, they send a threat. This is evidence. Someone wants him exposed. Meredith? Rebecca posed. Maybe. Or someone near her. At 9 de la mañana, my mother called from a number I didn't recognize. He answered because I wanted to hear what version of reality she had chosen. Natalie, she said, breathless. Your sister is falling apart. Good morning to you too. She and Grant had a terrible fight. I imagine. He left. That got my attention. Left where? The house. Their house. I don't know. She won't they tell me anything. Caleb is with us. I closed my eyes. Of course Caleb was with them. The child always got moved to wherever adults needed emotional leverage most. What do you want, Mom? I want you to stop. Stop what? Whatever you're doing. I'm not doing anything to Meredith. You're tearing open things that should stay private. He almost laughed. Private like the credit line in my name? She began crying. We made mistakes. No, Mom. You made decisions. We were trying to help your sister. And you sacrificed me. You were stronger. There it was. The oldest excuse. The strong child gets less love because she can survive it. The fragile child gets everything because everyone fears what will happen if she breaks. He said, you mean I was quieter? Mom whispered, Meredith needed us. So did I. She had no answer. After we hung up, I drove to my parents' house. Not because they asked. Because Caleb was there. The house looked different in daylight after the truth. Smaller. More fragile. The white columns needed paint. The landscaping was overgrown behind the decorative shrubs. The new guest bathroom window gleamed upstairs like a diamond set in a cracked ring. That opened the door. It looked terrible. Unsafe. Pally. A cardigan hanging loose from his shoulders. Natalie, he said. He stepped inside. The house smelled like reheated turkey and panic. Caleb was in the living room with headphones on, watching something on a tablet. He looked up when he saw me. Aunt Nat. Hey, Buddy. My mother appeared behind Dad, eyes red. Meredith is upstairs. I'm here to see Caleb. Mom looked wounded. Your sister needs you. No. My sister needs an attorney. Dad flinched. From upstairs came Meredith's voice. Is she here? Footsteps. Then Meredith appeared at the top of the stairs. For once, she did not look perfect. Her hair was pulled into a messy bun. No makeup. Oversized sweater. Her face looked raw from crying. I expected anger. Instead, she looked afraid. Natalie, she said. Can we talk? I nodded once. We went into that study. The room where I had signed the estate planning papers. The irony was almost elegant. Meredith closed the door. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she said, I didn't know your name was on the credit line. I watched her carefully. I knew Mom and Dad borrowed, she continued. I knew they helped us. I didn't know how. How much did they give you? She swallowed. 120,000 over 3 years. My stomach tightened. What for? She laughed once, bitterly. Which lie do you want first? Grant said we were investing. Then he said we were covering cash flow. Then he said the partnership track required certain appearances. House. Clothes. Donations. Club dues. Private school. If we looked successful, we'd become successful. That sounds like Grant. Her eyes filled. I believed him. He wanted to be cold. He wanted to enjoy seeing her break. But grief is complicated when it belongs to someone who hurt you. He said, what is Lake Marin? She went white. That was answer enough. Who sent me the drive? He asked. Meredith covered her mouth. Did you? She shook her head. Then who? Her voice was barely audible. His assistant. Grant? She nodded. Her name is Paige. She called me last week. She said if I didn't protect myself, Grant would let me take the fall for everything. He sat down slowly. What everything? Meredith stared at the floor. The trades, she whispered. The property. The money from Mom and Dad. So many accounts in my name that I didn't understand. He said spouses sign things. He said it was normal. He looked around the study. The room had become a factory of women signing things they were told not to question. My anger shifted. Not away from Meredith. But why either? You still humiliated me at dinner, I said. She closed her eyes. I know. Why? Her answer came after a long silence. Because Grant told me you were blocking something that would fix everything. There it was. He said you had some minor shares in a company, and you were being difficult because you liked feeling important. He said if the acquisition went through, they get a bonus, we could pay Mom and Dad back, the Lake Marin mess could be cleaned up, and Galik's school would be safe. He stared at her. And you believed him? Her mouth trembled. I wanted to. That was the most honest thing my sister had ever said to me. Then she whispered, I'm sorry. Not loudly. Not performatively. Not for Mom. Not because she needed a check. Just 2 words, broken open. He had imagined that moment many times. He thought I would feel triumph. Instead, I felt tired. Sorry Doente fixed this, I said. I know. Sorry Doente erased 6 years. I know. Sorry Doente protect you from consequences. She looked at me then. I know. Before I could answer, the study door opened. Grant stood there. Nobody had heard him come in. His suit was wrinkled. His eyes were bloodshot. But his smile was perfectly controlled. Well, he said. Isn't this touching? Meredith stepped back. He stood. Grant looked at me, then at the desk, then at Meredith's face. His smile faded. You told her. Meredith's voice shook. I told her enough. Grant laughed softly. Enough? Meredith, sweetheart, you don't even know what enough is. He reached into his coat pocket. That shouted from the hall, Grant. For half a second, the room froze. Then Grant pulled out a folded document. Not a weapon. A document. He tossed it onto the desk. Before anyone gets righteous, he said, looking directly at me, you should know your parents signed the house over as collateral Montsago. My mother screamed from the hallway. He looked down at the paper. And there, beneath a list of terms and clauses, was the address of my parents' home. Collateral for Blue Harbor Living. Lake Marin. Grant smiled again. You wanted the truth, Natalie, he said. Congratulations. Now nobody gets out clean. Grant's mistake was thinking destruction scared me. It used to. For years, I had kept things from collapsing because I believed collapse was the worst possible outcome. If the mortgage was late, I paid it. If Mom cried, I soothed her. If Dad sounded ashamed, I rescued him. If Meredith needed to remain perfect, I disappeared. Grant assumed I would see the collateral papers and panic. I assumed I would protect the family house at any cost. I assumed, like everyone else, that my love made me weak. But love without boundaries had already cost me $500,000 and most of my 20s. He picked up the document and read the first page. Then the second. Then the signature block. Robert Ayes. Elaine Ayes. Grant Collins, managing member, Blue Harbor Living LLC. Meredith's signature was not there. Interesting. You kept Meredith off this, I said. Grant's smile twitched. Meredith looked at me. What? He protected himself, I said. Not you. Grant scoffed. You don't know what you're reading. I know exactly what I'm reading. Dad entered the study behind him, ripping the doorframe. Grant, he said hoarsely. You told us it was temporary. Grant turned. It is temporary if everyone stops behaving emotionally. My mother appeared behind Dad, crying so hard she could barely speak. You said the Lake Marin house would sell in the spring, she said. You said they make everything back. Meredith looked at her. You knew about Lake Marin. Mom covered her mouth. Another family truth dropped onto the floor. Meredith staggered back as if slapped. You knew. Mom sobbed. Only after. After what? Mom could not answer. That did. After we signed. Meredith stared at them. You risked your house for Grant. Dad's face crumpled. For you. The room went quiet. That was the tragedy beneath all the greed. They had not trusted Meredith enough to tell her the truth. They had not loved me enough to protect me from it. And in the end, they had lost both daughters. Grant clapped once, sharp and sarcastic. Beautiful. Very moving. Now it is reality. If Natalie cooperates with the acquisition vote, the financial pressure eases. If she doente, Northline digs, my firm digs, lenders dig, and every ugly thing this family has done becomes discoverable. Ismail. I hated that. You still think this is about my vote, I said. It is. No. It was. Now it's about evidence. His eyes narrowed. He held up my phone. Rebecca Sloan had been on the line since the moment Grant walked in. Quiet. Listening. Recording legally under my status one-party consent law. Rebecca, I said, did you get that? Grant's face changed. A woman's voice came through the speaker. Clearly. Meredith gasped. Dad whispered, Natalie. Grant stepped toward me. You little. He raised one hand. No. Careful. You're already having a bad weekend. Rebecca's voice remained calm. M.A.R. Collins, this is Rebecca Sloan, counsel for Natalie Hayes. Preserve all documents related to Blue Harbor Living, Hollis and Reed, Northline Data Systems, Robert and Elaine Hayes, Meredith Collins, and any credit instruments connected to Natalie Hayes. Any destruction may expose you to sanctions and further claims. Grant looked like he might explode. Instead, he laughed. You think a family lawyer scares me? Rebecca replied, I'm not a family lawyer. That shut him up. He lowered the phone. Get out of my parents' house, I said. Grant looked at Dad. Robert? Dad did not move. For once, my father chose silence in the correct direction. Grant turned to Meredith. You're coming with me. No, she whispered. His face hardened. Excuse-me. Meredith's hands shook, but her voice grew stronger. No. It was not forgiveness. It was not redemption. But it was the first brave thing I had seen her do in years. Grant stared at her with cold disbelief. You have no idea what happens next, he said. Meredith lifted her chin. Neither do you. Elle left without another word. The front door slammed so hard a picture fell in the hallway. Caleb began crying in the living room. Meredith ran to him. My mother collapsed into a chair. Dad stood in the study doorway, looking at the paper on the desk like it had crawled there by itself. Natalie, he said. What do we do? He looked at him. There was a time I would have answered automatically. Ella fix it. Ella call someone. Ella pay it. Ella handle everything. But that version of me had died at Thanksgiving dinner between the cranberry sauce and Meredith's imported tile. I don't know what you do, I said. I know what I'm doing. Mom looked up, terrified. You're leaving. Yes. You can't. He laughed quietly. You keep saying that to me. Dad's voice broke. We raised your parents. I know. That was the worst part. He loved them. He hated what they had done. Both were true. I turned to Meredith, who was holding Caleb in the hallway. Rebecca can refer you to separate counsel. You need your own lawyer. Not Grant's. Not Mom and Dad's. Yours. Meredith nodded, crying silently. Mom whispered, what about us? He looked at her. You need counsel too. And the house. The house is not my responsibility anymore. She flinched as if I had slapped her. Maybe I had. Truth. He left before anyone could ask me to stay. Outside, the sky was low and gray. A cold wind moved through the trees, stripping the last dead leaves from the branches. My phone buzzed when I reached my car. A text from Aunt Caroline. You know more than I said. Calme. He sat behind the wheel for a moment. Then I called. She answered immediately. Natalie, she said, voice tight. Your mother called me last night. She wanted me to convince you to restart the payments. I assumed. She also said if you refused, she might have to tell people you were mentally unstable. My hand tightened on the steering wheel. Aunt Caroline continued, I told her that would be a mistake. Thank you. There is more. Of course there was. Years ago, when your grandmother died, she left something for you. The world narrowed. What? A trust account. Not huge, but not small. Your mother said you knew. He stopped breathing. I didn't. Aunt Carolina's voice hardened. Then we have another problem. He looked back at the house. At the white columns. At the windows glowing with the wreckage of my family's lies. How much? He asked. Aunt Caroline hesitated. $240,000. For a moment, I heard nothing. Then everything inside me went cold and bright. My grandmother had left me money. My mother had hidden it. And now I finally understood why my family had always needed me to believe I owned nothing. My grandmother, Violet Hayes, was the only person in my childhood who never acted like loving me was difficult. She smelled like lavender soap and black coffee. She wore red lipstick to the grocery store. She taught me how to balance a checkbook when I was 12 and how to spot a liar when I was 13. Watch what people protect, she used to say. That tells you what they worship. My mother protected Meredith. My father protected peace. Grant protected image. And me. He had protected everyone except myself. Grandma Violet died when I was 21. He was in my final semester of college. Meredith was already engaged to her first serious boyfriend, not Grant, but another polished man my parents liked until his family filed bankruptcy. After the funeral, Mom told me Grandma had left a few sentimental things. A quilt. A necklace. A box of recipe cards. He cherished them. He never asked about money because asking would have felt ugly. That was the advantage honest people gave to dishonest ones. We assumed shame was proof of morality. Aunt Caroline arrived at my apartment Monday morning carrying a folder and wearing the expression of a woman who had spent years suspecting something and one weekend confirming it. She hugged me at the door. Not dramatically. Not to perform. Just held me. I almost broke then. Not at Thanksgiving. Not when I canceled the payments. Not when I discovered the credit line. Not when Grant threatened us in that study. But when someone hugged me without needing anything. I'm sorry, Aunt Caroline said. He nodded against her shoulder. Then we sat at my kitchen table. She opened the folder. Your grandmother created 3 trusts, she said. One for Meredith. One for you. One small education account for future great-grandchildren. Meredith got hers. Yes. Of course. How much? Roughly the same. Around 200,000, plus growth. He looked down at the paper. My name was there. Natalie Grace Hayes. Beneficiary. He touched the line with my finger. It felt like proof I had existed before my family rewrote me. Who controlled it? He asked. Your mother was trustee until you turned 25. Then control should have passed to you. He was 33. 8 years. 8 years of silence. Aunt Carolina's mouth tightened. Elaine told me you used it for graduate school. I never went to graduate school. I know that now. We sat quietly. Outside, a delivery truck beeped as it backed into the alley. Life continued rudely when yours fell apart. Aunt Caroline slid another paper toward me. There were withdrawals. I read them. Tuition payment. Not mine. Wedding deposit. Not mine. Medical reimbursement. Possibilitats. Home improvement. Of course. Then one line made my vision blur. Transfer to MIS. Meredith. $85,000. He laughed once. Aunt Caroline reached for my hand. He pulled back gently. Not because I didn't want comfort. Because if she touched me, I might not stop crying. My grandmother had tried to protect me. My mother had stolen that protection and used it to decorate Meredith's life. By noon, Rebecca had the documents. By 3, she had a plan. We go after the trustee breach, she said. Separate from the credit line. Separate from Grant. Separate from Northline. Clean Lannis. More pressure. Will Mom face criminal charges? Possibly. But civil recovery is our first move unless you instruct otherwise. He stared at the wall. There was no good version of this. If I pushed, my mother might be destroyed. If I didn't, she would learn that stealing from me had been survivable. What would you do? He asked. Rebecca leaned back. As your attorney or as a person? Both. As your attorney, Ide pursue recovery aggressively. As a person, Ide ask why everyone else's survival has always mattered more than yours. That sentence stayed with me. That evening, Meredith came to my apartment. Alone. No Grant. No ma'am. No performance. She stood in the hallway holding a folder and looking like someone who had aged 5 years in 4 days. Ella leave if you tell me to, she said. He considered it. Then I opened the door wider. She stepped inside and looked around. He could see the surprise on her face. Not judgment this time. Confusion. It's nice, she said. It's mine. She nodded, absorbing the correction. We sat across from each other at the same table where Aunt Caroline had shown me the trust papers. Meredith placed her folder between us. These are account statements I found in Grant's desk, she said. Some are in my name. Some are Blue Harbor. Some are accounts I don't recognize. Why bring them to me? Because I don't trust anyone else. He studied her face. Do you trust me? Her eyes filled. No. But I trust that you hate being lied to more than you hate me. That was probably true. He opened the folder. The first page showed transfers from my grandmother's trust. My stomach turned. You knew? He asked. Meredith shook her head quickly. Not then. I swear. Mom told me Grandma helped with wedding money. He thought she meant her own inheritance. He didn't they know it was yours? He wanted to believe her. That angered me. Belief felt like giving something away. Meredith whispered, I built my whole life on money that wasn't mine. He said nothing. She continued, and when you came to Thanksgiving in that old car, I thought. He thought you were choosing to be less. He thought you were judging me by not wanting what I had. Her voice broke. But you were paying for it. There it was. Not an apology. A revelación. She had not hated me because I was failing. She had hated me because some part of her knew I was free. He closed the folder. What do you want, Meredith? She wiped her face. I want to help you take Grant down. He leaned back. And Mom? She closed her eyes. Pain crossed her face. I don't know. Honest again. Good. Honesty was not forgiveness. But it was useful. Before I could respond, my phone rang. Daniel Mercer. He answered. Natalie, he said. Grant resigned from his firm 20 minutes ago. Meredith looked up sharply. Daniel continued, and Hollis and Reed just withdrew their acquisition offer. He exhaled slowly. That should have felt like victory. Then Daniel said, there is a problem. Of course. Grant's attorney contacted ours. He claims you orchestrated a family vendetta to manipulate Norfina's valuation. He left. That's desperate. Yes. But he attached something. My smile faded. What? A recording from Thanksgiving dinner. Edited. It makes you sound like you threatened your family for financial gain. Meredith whispered, oh my God. Daniel said, it's already been sent to 2 business reporters. The room went cold. Grant had lost control of the facts. So he was going after the story. Grant's edited recording hit the internet Tuesday morning. Not everywhere. Not viral. Not yet. But enough. A business gossip account posted a 38-second clip with the caption. Norfina shareholder threatens elderly parents over money during Thanksgiving dinner. Adquisición drama gets personal. The clip began with my voice saying, the payments stopped today. Then Meredith saying, you can't just stop paying. Then me, ella bring documentation. Then my mother crying. Then my father saying, enough. Good. No insults. No context. No mortgage. No credit line. No stolen trust. No grant. Just me sounding cold and my mother sounding broken. By 10 de la mañana, my inbox had 3 reporter requests. By 11, Norfina's communications team wanted a statement. By noon, my mother had sent the clip to Aunt Caroline with the message. See what she has become? Aunt Caroline forwarded it to me. Anderit, she wrote. I'm done protecting your mother. At 1 de la tarde, Rebecca, Daniel, Meredith, and Caroline, and I joined a video call. Meredith looked sick. He recorded dinner, she whispered. He said, apparently. Rebecca asked, did anyone see him recording? Meredith shook her head. But he always puts his phone face down near his plate. Daniel said, we need a response before this grows. Rebecca looked at me. We can send a legal notice, but silence may let his version harden. Aunt Carolina's voice came through sharp and clear. Then tell the truth. Everyone looked at her on the screen. She sat in her sunroom, pearls on, posture perfect, fury glowing through every line of her face. I am 71 years old, she said. I have watched my sister lie for decades because I thought keeping peace was kindness. It was not. It was cowardice. I will not let that man use my niece's restraint against her. Meredith began crying silently. Rebecca looked at me. Natalie? It was my choice. That was still new. Not what Mom needed. Not what Dad feared. Not what Meredith could survive. Mine. I said, release the full context. Not everything. No Caleb. No private medical details. Bad enough. Rebecca nodded. By 3 de la tarde, Northline issued a statement. A selectively edited recording involving minority shareholder Natalie Hayes has been circulated amid an ongoing investigation into potential misconduct by parties connected to a withdrawn acquisition proposal. Ms. Hayes has provided documentation to counsel and regulators. Northline will not comment further on private family matters. It was professional. Cold. Effective. Then Aunt Caroline posted. Not a rant. Not drama. Just truth. He was present at Thanksgiving dinner. The clip circulating online is edited. Before that moment, Natalie Hayes was publicly insulted by family members who failed to disclose that she had quietly supported her parents financially for years. He will provide a sworn statement if needed. Shame on anyone using a daughter's generosity against her. By 5 de la tarde, the gossip account deleted the clip. By 6, a real business journalist called Daniel asking about Grant Collins. By 7, Grant called Meredith 32 times. She did not answer. At 8:14 de la noche, my mother appeared at my apartment door. I saw her through the peephole and considered pretending I wasn't home. Then I opened it. She looked smaller than I had ever seen her. No makeup. Gray cardigan. Hair pinned badly. Eyes swollen. Natalie, she whispered. Can I come in? No. She flinched. He stepped into the hallway and closed the door behind me. What do you want? Her lips trembled. Everyone is turning on me. He waited. Not my problem. Not my crisis. Not my cue. She continued, Caroline, won't they take my calls? Your father barely speaks. Meredith blames me. Grant says lawyers may come after us. People from church have seen things online. There it was. People from church. Not, I stole from you. Not, I failed you. People know. He said, you hid my trust. She closed her eyes. I was going to tell you. When? When things were stable. Mom, I'm 33. She looked at the floor. I told myself you didn't need it. The hallway lights hummed. Somewhere downstairs, a dog barked. He said, you told yourself that because taking from me felt easier if I needed less. Tears slid down her face. You were always so independent. No, I was neglected into competence. She made a wounded sound. But this time, I did not rescue her from the wound. She whispered, I loved you. He believed her. That was the hardest part. I know, I said. But you loved Meredith loudly. You loved me when it was convenient. Mom covered her mouth. He continued, you let me pay your bills while you praised her. You took Grandma's money from me while telling people I had no ambition. You used my signature. You let your son-in-law threaten me. And when I finally stopped, you told me to fix it. She sank against the wall. I don't know how to make this right. Finally. The first sentence that mattered. He looked at her for a long time. You start by telling the truth. To Dad. To Meredith. To Aunt Caroline. To Rebecca. To the bank. To anyone you lied to. Her face crumpled. That will ruin me. No, I said. It will reveal you. She looked at me like I was cruel. Maybe I was. Or maybe truth feels cruel to people who benefited from lies. He opened my door. Natalie, please. He paused. She whispered, are you my daughter anymore? The old me would have shattered. The new me felt the blade and refused to bleed. I was always your daughter, I said. You just preferred me invisible. Then I went inside and locked the door. The next morning, Grant was arrested. Not for Northline. Not for Lake Marion. Not for the credit line. For assaulting Paige, his former assistant, when she refused to hand over her laptop. And when police searched his car, they found a folder labeled I is leverage. Inside there were copies of my parents' financial records, Meredith's accounts, my trust documents, and a handwritten note. If Natalie refuses, use a lane. My mother had spent years protecting Meredith from me. But Grant had been planning to use my mother against all of us. The performance was over. Now came the reckoning. 3 months later, the family house sold. Not in a dramatic foreclosure auction. Not with neighbors whispering on the lawn. Rebecca negotiated a controlled sale, partly because Dad cooperated, partly because Aunt Caroline pushed, and partly because the bank realized the credit line paperwork had problems no one wanted tested in court. My parents moved into a smaller townhouse 20 minutes away. 2 bedrooms. Clean kitchen. No grand dining room. No white columns. No guest bathroom with imported tile. My mother cried when she handed over the keys to the old house. I did not. I thought I would feel grief. Instead, I felt release. That house had been a stage, and we had all been trapped in roles written before we were old enough to refuse them. Meredith filed for divorce. Grant's legal problems multiplied the way mold spreads behind expensive wallpaper. His firm disowned him publicly and investigated him privately. Khalees and Reed denied everything until emails proved enough to make denial expensive. Norfline survived. Its valuation dipped, then recovered. Daniel told me my refusal to approve the acquisition likely saved the company. I did not tell my family that. Some truths no longer needed to be offered at tables where they had never been respected. My grandmother's trust became a separate case. My mother admitted, through counsel, that she had mismanaged funds. Her attorney used words like emotional pressure, family necessity, and lack of malicious intent. Rebecca used words like breach, conversion, and repayment schedule. In the end, Mom signed a settlement. She would never repay all of it. That was not the point. The point was that the lie now had a number. SIFT becomes harder to romanticize when it comes with monthly payments. Dad wrote me a letter. Not an email. Not a text. A letter, in his careful retired engineer handwriting. He apologized without defending himself. That mattered. He wrote. He called you strong because it made it easier to ask more of you. He called Meredith fragile because it made it easier to excuse her. He failed both of you, but I failed you longer. I am sorry. I read it 3 times. Then I put it in a drawer. Forgiveness, I learned, is not a door you owe someone because they finally knocked politely. Sometimes it is a road. Sometimes it is a locked gate. Sometimes it is a letter in a drawer while you decide whether the person who wrote it understands the cost of the stamp. Meredith and I became something strange. Not close. Not enemies. 2 women standing in the ruins of the same house, comparing the rooms where we had each been trapped. She apologized again after the divorce filing. Properly this time. No excuses. No but Grant. No Mom made me. Just. I liked being chosen. I knew you weren't. I'm sorry I made that your fault. That one stayed with me. Caleb spent every other weekend with her after she moved into a rented duplex near his school. The first time I visited, he showed me his room and asked if I wanted to see his science project. I said yes. Green. Children forgive differently when adults stop asking them to carry lies. One Saturday in April, Meredith invited me to Caleb's baseball game. I went. Mom and Dad were there too, sitting 2 rows down on the bleachers. My mother saw me and stiffened. For months, we had only spoken through attorneys. She looked older. Less polished. Smaller without the big house framing her. At the end of the game, Caleb ran over and hugged me. Meredith waved from near the dugout. Dad nodded, uncertain. Mom approached slowly. Natalie, she said. Mom. She swallowed. Your father told me not to do this here. He almost smiled. Good advice. I know. She looked toward Caleb, then back at me. I'm not asking for anything. That was new. I just wanted to say I watched you with him today. And I thought about all the years you showed up. Quietly. Even when we made you feel like you didn't matter. Her eyes filled, but she did not cry. I see it now, she said. He did not answer. She deserved silence long enough to understand it. Then she whispered, I'm sorry, Natalie. The wind moved across the field. Keats shouted near the snack stand. A coach laughed. Somewhere, a bat hit a ball with a clean metallic ping. It was not a movie moment. No swelling music. No instant healing. Just my mother standing in sunlight, finally looking at me without asking me to disappear. He said, I hear you. Her face trembled. It was not forgiveness. But it was not nothing. And for once, nothing was exactly what I owed. A year after that Thanksgiving, I hosted dinner in my apartment. Not Thanksgiving. I wasn't ready to reclaim that holiday yet. Just a Sunday meal. Aunt Caroline came early with wine. Danielle stopped by with a ridiculous pie from a bakery that required reservations. Meredith brought Caleb and a salad she admitted she bought pre-made. That came with flowers. Mom came last. She brought cranberry sauce. He stared at it. She said, I know nobody likes it. For a second, everyone froze. Then Meredith laughed. Not the polished laugh. A real one. Dad laughed too. Aunt Caroline raised her glass. To finally admitting the cranberry sauce is terrible. Even Mom smiled. Dinner was not perfect. Nobody pretended it was. That was why it was better. Halfway through the meal, Caleb asked, Aunt Nat, did you really save Grandma and Grandpa's old house? The table went quiet. Meredith looked at me, worried. My father lowered his fork. My mother's face tightened, but she did not interrupt. He looked at Caleb. No, I said gently. I helped keep it for a while. But houses aren't they always meant to be saved? I thought about that. Then what is? He looked around the table. At my sister, who was learning humility the hard way. At my father, who was learning apology without reward. At my mother, who was learning truth after a lifetime of performance. At Aunt Caroline, who had chosen courage late but not too late. Then I looked back at Caleb. People, I said. But only when they stop asking you to disappear for them. I nodded as if that made sense. Maybe someday it would. After dinner, when everyone left, I stood alone in my small kitchen. No crystal glasses. No mahogany table. No imported tile. No performance. Just dishes in the sink, leftover pie on the counter, and quiet that belonged to me. My phone buzzed. A bank notification. Final settlement payment received from Elaine Hayes. Small amount. Symbolic. Enough. He looked at it for a long moment. Then I opened my banking app. For the first time in years, there were no family rescue transfers. No emergency mortgage payments. No hidden debts. No silent obligations pretending to be love. Only my accounts. My future. My name. He thought about Thanksgiving. Meredith's voice, you exist. My mother's whisper, coldly selfish. My own voice, nothing stops today. Ismail. They had been wrong. Something had stopped that day. The payments. The lies. The performance. The version of me who believed love meant being useful enough to keep. And something else had started. A life where I did not have to prove my worth by saving people from the truth. A life where my silence was no longer for sale. A life that belonged to me. For the first time, I turned off my phone before bed without fear of who might need me. Then I slept. Deeply. Peacefully. Like a woman who had finally come home to herself.